What's up, y'all? Back with another video. I'm chatting this time with Daniel Snow of the New Jersey-based Snow Agency. Now, Daniel's been in the advertising space for quite some time, but he started off doing Instagram and Twitter organically, but that's snowballed, pun intended, into a agency that's growing really well. They're a Facebook marketing partner, a lot of good stuff. Smart guy. Check out this video. I think you'll like it. What's up? This is Andrew Molz, and I'm here with Daniel Snow from the SnowAgency.com. And Daniel, do you go by Daniel or Dan?
Daniel is good.
Daniel, maybe like family calls you Dan?
Yeah, Daniel, Dan, Snow, get it all.
Yeah. Some people try to call me Andy. I'm just like, what? Sound like a like a middle schooler or something. So I was just going to go through a couple, not a couple, probably like maybe like 5 or 10. I have like usually like a loose script of questions, and we end up normally always just like going off the cuff and discussing other stuff. But I'll just start with first question for you. How long have you been running Facebook ads for?
I believe it's been 4 years now.
Yeah. Have you been in the space, I guess, marketing wise, longer than that? How'd you get into Facebook ads specifically?
I've been in the online marketing advertising space since December of 2012. So
okay,
a little over 7 years.
Yeah.
I got into the space, started out organically, not unpaid, through social, just creating different accounts on Twitter, and then on Instagram. Then had gotten really big into affiliate marketing. I created a self-serve advertising platform for influencers and celebrities, anyone who really just had a large following on social media. Then created brands. So the first brand that we really started scaling was called 𝐒𝐄𝐄, and we were doing
ads.
Oh yeah.
Just because they were really good, and like stuff like that. Like, I don't know, if you spend enough time online, you just like see stuff and you're like, okay, that's a good ad, and that's like just junk. But I do remember specifically. I remember that you could stick it on a mirror.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, it's just, how often would you do it? I don't know, but it's just like something different and a selling feature, and it was really well marketed. So I do remember that.
Yeah. So as we were scaling that, we were scaling a lot on organic. We were doing 100 million impressions a day organically, 50 million on Instagram, about 50 million on Twitter a day. And naturally, this was now 2016. Naturally, how can we scale up this to utilize all our content and creative to just capture more customers? And that's how we got into Facebook ads and Google ads, and just started building brands. So
you started off with Twitter mainly, or Instagram?
Twitter.
Yeah, that was a platform I was just like never able personally to get to work. And I mean, I think it also has to do with like the kind of product that you're trying to advertise and market to. And it's a big difference between actually getting conversions and sales from that product that you're pushing versus, your Southwest Airlines pushing a $59 fare. And so it's a lot different. I was never able to crack it myself and, stuck with Facebook ads.
It wasn't on the ad platform. It was just organically, me growing a following and then utilizing that following to send traffic to.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been able to make the paid work on Twitter, but organically it gives you a great sense because you have to always figure out how to create creative that works and resonates with a broad audience, and then also creating content for specific verticals and demographics and pages, which is essentially the same thing you're doing on Facebook ads. You're creating content for you're not buying a shout out on a specific Instagram or Twitter page, but you can create audience and reach 220 million people who are interested in fitness, which is even better than buying a shout out of people who follow a fitness page. Yeah. So it definitely gave me a great background and understanding of how to resonate with a target audience and how to create compelling advertisements.
It sounds like you learned all that stuff that like you can't really necessarily always teach to somebody. The only way you can learn is by doing it and actually having experience in it versus, you know, I read an article or a course on how to market on Twitter. I think it's always night and day when you read something and try and put it into practice versus doing it and then having problems and then solving those problems. That's what I like about entrepreneurs. I saw your post about the Super Bowl stuff and, you know, spending $5.6 million on an ad for, you know, however many seconds that ad airs. And then it can be debated all day long about, you know, earned media and what that does for your brand. There's so many intangible things I feel like you can't necessarily measure really well and attribute to a Super Bowl ad running and people seeing it versus like that 5.6 million and sticking that into ad campaigns that you can specifically attribute and say, okay, this is what it did versus we think we did this much, and come back in like 6 months and we'll tell you a little bit more. I don't know. I don't like those kinds of advertising mediums where I got to guess. I like to know as much as possible where those ad dollars are going. And that's just like what entrepreneurs are really known for, is solving problems and figuring things out really fast that either work or they don't. And it's like that, overeducated, underexperienced kind of marketplace that a lot of the youth are coming out with, you know, like master's degrees and stuff. And then they show up to a job and they don't really perform really well. And they want to keep advancing through the ranks with no performance except for just sheer tenure. I don't want to get into a rant on that, but yeah, I mean, I get 100% what you're saying. That's what I would do. I feel like that's what most brands would do. But, you know, most people say, well, if they got 5.6 million to spend, they don't really care. It's about the long game or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's easy when you're $1 billion company and you can just, you know, throw that around. For the small business, medium-sized business that, you know, you need every dollar to last and create more dollars out of, you need to be lean. You need to be efficient with that money.
You remember your first client?
Do I remember my first client, or my first client like in general, or my first client through our agency? That's a big difference.
So like in general?
I don't.
Yeah.
I think it might have been.
You'll have like the one person like watching, he's like crying.
Is what?
You'll have like the one person, your first client ever watching this, and they're gonna be crying like, oh shit, he doesn't remember me.
No, I think the first client was back in 2013. 2013 or 14. I was running campaigns for apps to get them trending on Twitter and then trending on the App Store. And I had a, believe it or not, a 100% success rate. I did it like 8 to 10 times. The first one was with Hinge, I remember. It's a dating app, I believe it was for that.
Yeah.
And it was through this British company. So then as you know, each one was successful, eventually we partnered up on a gaming app ourselves that I had equity in, and we got it to number 20 on the App Store. It had like 2.5 million downloads in a month. And yeah, that's what the first client turned into. So pretty cool.
I mean, that's a pretty good success story for a pretty good success story for your first client. I can't remember. I think my first client was like maybe like a painting company and doing like local ads for like $300 or something like that. I can like, I don't know, early 2000, like probably same time as you, 12ish, 10. Seems like a lot of the stuff in Facebook ad world seemed to really pop off in like 2016. And it was just like, oh my God, it's a money printer. I look back in hindsight now, I was like, oh my God, I should have launched this company. I should have launched a company selling like just anything I can think of. You can basically spin anything into gold. What are 3 tools that you say help you really well with Facebook marketing that you couldn't live without?
3 tools that help me. Well, I guess the first one is the Pixel, which, you know, everyone needs that. It's pretty crazy that I hear some people talk about when they first started running Facebook ads back in whenever they didn't even have a pixel, which is pretty crazy to even think about. But I'm still amazed with everything the pixel is able to do, and how, you know, you're able to allocate a $10 budget for a small business with, you know, an audience size of 100 million, and be able to consistently generate profitable revenue. So that amazes me every single day.
Yeah.
Another tool I couldn't live without.
One of the guys I previously chatted with said Facebook ad library.
Facebook ad library?
Yeah, it's just to be able to, you know, get inspiration, look at other ads. Maybe it's a creative hub for you within Facebook ads. And I don't know how involved you are on the creative process. Maybe you might not be as involved. Are you hands-on with it, or do you let your team kind of come up with the creative and the game plans, and you have that delegated out?
Yeah, so I'm not really. So we have a huge creative library internally.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I'm seeing ads that I think are great, that inspire me in any way, our whole company sends them to a chat, and we compile all that, and we try to templatize what works, what doesn't, so then we can use that for our clients in different verticals. So we're always looking, you know, for work and why, what can we take from that and implement it for our clients. So
it's crazy how much like we consume. It's like, oh, that's a really good ad. I'd love to run something like that similar. Or maybe if the client comes up and writes such a way, and then it's like a couple months later, you forget about it and you revisit and you're like, damn, that's a really good ad. We should do that for this. And it's like endless. You have any preferences on graphic ads versus video?
Not necessarily. We used to do like literally almost all video. And then I realized, I'm like, you know, everyone's shifting to video. Why we're not even at this point even testing photo. And once we started testing photo, we found out that CPMs are super cheap, and I wouldn't say there's a preference. I think they should both be used, because you never know what's going to work best for any given product or client or service. So
yeah, I'm seeing the same thing kind of internally on our end. We were really, of course, heavy on video, and it's awesome to be able to use that as a seed audience for people that have seen your ad and actually looked at it and or engaged. But when we started doing running a little bit more towards best practices and running a video plus an image within, and not just all videos within an ad set, started to notice that surprisingly enough, the graphics and the images were almost always outperforming the video. And I think that's just by the sheer volume of where, and this is my guess, sheer volume of where Facebook can deliver a massive amount of impressions and have them be a little bit more meaningful versus video not being able to have as many placements. Because I mean, we're usually always using auto placement now. Sometimes we'll split it up and do it by feeds only on Facebook and Instagram, but for the most part, we are running auto placement just because that with CBO and running some other best practices like video and graphic, it typically always does give the either the lowest cost per lead or the lowest cost per acquisition. Do you have any preference on auto placement?
I definitely think that everyone should typically start with auto placement, and then as you're gaining all that data, you can then look to see, you know, which placements are doing best. If they're not, which placements are not getting spend allocated, and then you can make decisions after that. But I think it's best to get that data, and then you can make decisions once you have that.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Analytical and measured. What's your biggest headache running an agency? You're like doing interviews.
Biggest headache is just, you know, building out the team, and always that balance between growing. You need to staff before you have clients, and then, you know, you're not getting, you know, some months you might get more clients than you predicted, so you're short staffed. Some months you might not be getting as many clients as you expected. Now you're overstaffed because you staffed ahead. So it's always just that balance of predicting employees. It's like when we were running our own brand, it's like, you know, you're predicting, how much inventory you need to buy for a quarter, let's say. But it's not it's very cut and dry. You buy the inventory from the manufacturer and you put it in your warehouse. And here it's a lot harder because it might take 1, 2, 3, 4 months to fill a placement. So that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that as well. And that you can't have months where like, we turned off all of our ads in like Q4 in October, like probably early October, just because it's just getting way too crazy with managing all the promotions and promo codes and all the other tasks that a client needs. And you screw up one of those in Q4 and it's detrimental to a brand. You have any plans to do any kind of like course or speaking gigs or anything like that?
Yeah, I would love to definitely get into more speaking this year and the future. I don't really have any plans for a course right now. I'm open to it because I'm trying to first build out a course because we have our own internal training protocols and procedures and whatnot. And I'm trying to build that out into like a video course for internally, so it's a little bit more streamlined. And maybe who knows, maybe I can offer that to the general public. I still haven't really decided if I want to do that or not yet.
Yeah, I think it's tough just because the biggest problem is that things are just friggin' changing so fast. And it's like as soon as you put it into a coursework, it could be outdated in 3 months. And then people are like, hey, this guy sells a bunch of nonsense or outdated stuff. So it's tough keeping up with that. Plus, running the agency, which is your probably, your main thing. Just out of a guess. How was your Super Bowl?
Super Bowl was good. I was actually in Miami for it.
Yeah, I saw. Did you have a good time?
I had an amazing, hard not to have a good time. The city, it was awesome. It was a really cool experience. I was rooting for the Chiefs and they won, so that was cool. But yeah.
Yeah, I went to Texas Tech, so was happy to see Mahomes win.
Oh wow, nice.
So, what's your Instagram name?
Dapper.
Was that tough to get?
I got it a very long time ago, so it wasn't hard to get back then.
Yeah, I know a lot of people kind of fight for and try and buy those vanity URLs. That's funny. I was gonna ask you like who are 3, and this is the last question I was gonna wrap you up with. I know it's been like 43 minutes or whatnot. And I appreciate your time. Who's like 3 other marketers that you really like their stuff or their content or their ads or whatnot?
3 other marketers I really like.
You don't like anybody? You're like,
Yeah, honestly, there's no one like specifically that I really follow.
Uh-huh.
I would say there's some brands that I follow. I don't really know who the marketers are behind that, but let me see. I'll pull up my creative inspirations chat. I know one that I do like consistently is Sand and Sky. I'm really impressed by their constant iterations of content, and they do a really, really great job with UGC.
Standing Sky?
Sand and Sky, yeah.
Sand and Sky. I'll check them out.
Yeah, so they create really impressive content. What else? Let's see. I think 𝐒/League does a really great job with their content. There was apple cider vinegar gummies.
Mm-hmm.
Love their content on ads. 𝐈𝐍𝐒, I think, does a really good job with content. Yeah, those are pretty solid 3.
Gotcha. I'm gonna check out the one, the Sand and Sky. That's one I hadn't heard of. All right, Daniel. Well, I appreciate you popping on here and taking some time to chat with me. And it's Daniel Snow, and thesnowagency.com. Again, appreciate you being on here, and I'll make sure to shoot you over this before I put it out, and you can check it out, man.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks a lot for having me.